Guys, Katie here from Equestrian Movement, and if you have gotten this far, I hope you have enjoyed our training on opening the lines of communication. Feel free to message us if you have any extra questions or want to troubleshoot some problems. We're always free to help, and we love supporting you guys and getting you your wins and helping you take your next best step to supporting your horse and finding a way to connect with them, strengthen the bond and the relationship with your horse, and get your horse willing and consenting and engaging with their training and just enjoying the whole process so that it is beneficial to them and so that we can actually enjoy our horses and not be scared of them or worried that we're going to break them or do the wrong thing by them. So we've talked about the fist bump, we've talked about bonding, we've talked about their personality, and some of you may have had a few wins out of that, which we would love to hear from you if you have found those, just bringing down some walls for you, bringing down some boundaries with your horses and finding it is getting a little bit easier for you. Definitely one of the big things that I see when I go out to a new horse that, is a problem horse, it may be dangerous or showing big behaviors that are scary to some people. Most often it is, always it's them trying to communicate something. So whether that something be that they're in pain or they just don't want to do what we're asking or they're scared, there's plenty of different avenues that we can go down to troubleshoot. But the first step to figuring out why our horse is behaving a certain way is giving them the tools to communicate with us so that they can tell us to their best ability what their problems are. And sometimes that means, getting our vets and our body workers and whatnot involved. But sometimes it can just be keeping, expanding on the tools that we already have given you in this mini course so far to take that communication further. So where we go from here is building that connection at liberty, so how to keep your horse connected and engaged in its learning, willing and consenting of the ask without force. Establishing boundaries with our horses. We find boundaries very important for helping our horses feel safe, secure and connected with us. Developing consent, just taking it that little step further. So we use this in quite a few different scenarios with consenting tack, like bridles, saddles, brushes, rugs, pretty much everything that we do with our horses, we do it through using consent. And so that empowers our horses, that they know that we're not going to do anything to them that is going to create harm. But it also means that they have some say in their training. It means that, some days if they're not really feeling it, we can just have a couple of little wins, and then the days that they are, we know we can push for a little bit more and ask for a little bit more and they're more willing, rather than trying to push them to the point of submission every single time we ride them. And then we are also looking at building in emotional conditioning with the horses. How do we help them deal with fear? We at Equestrian Movement teach them how to manage their confidence through building curiosity, and we talk about other ways of managing their emotional engagement in what we're doing, so that basically when we're training, we're trying to fire those happy hormones, and that's what gets the horse wanting to work with us. What's in it for them? Why should they respond correctly to this cue that you're asking them? If you're asking them to work, if you're asking them to think, if you're asking them to use their body, remembering that anytime we exercise, it does, exercise in itself does create pain. If you have never gone for a run in your life, if you've never been to the gym, you might not understand that, but any of us that have ever done any exercise, it does It is uncomfortable. And so how do we make movement feel good, and how do we make movement fun for our horses, and how do we make learning fun for them so that they are willingly engaging in the cues that we're training into them. So this is how we open the pathway, by starting that conversation with your horse and communicating with them. Quite often we get to this point because we've had big behavioural problems, but not only can we reverse those behavioural problems where our horse is trying to communicate something that we've not understood, we can actually get them, on board and actively communicating. Yes, rug me. Yes, brush me. Yes, put my bridle on. Yes, put my saddle on. Yes, hop on, let's go for a ride. That's what we all want. We all want our horse to say, yes, come on, let's go. I want to be ridden. And so hopefully, from the little skills that you've learnt so far, you're starting to see those benefits with your horse. And you've been able to take a moment yourself to reflect on what your horse is trying to tell you with these behaviours. And now, if you're ready, you can take that a bit further with us. So if you have any questions, we really want you to reach out and talk to us and let us know, because we want to help you on this journey. So our base philosophy is not just about opening that communication and starting to give the horses the tools to communicate their needs to us, but also in building a relationship that fosters willingness and consent. So we do have a membership in our Training Trainability membership. We do go into how to turn communication into consent. So, how do you get your horse to say, yes, I want my bridle on? How do you get your horse to say, yes, I want my saddle on? How do you get your horse to say, yes, I want you on my back? How to achieve connection through liberty. So how do you maintain your horse's emotional, mental and physical connection and engagement within your training session? And then with, it's not just your training session, it's your handling in general, your feed time routine, what happens when the farrier comes, what happens when the vet comes, what happens when you float them, what happens when you need to move them to a new paddock, all of these problems that come up on the day-to-day that we need to have a strong relationship and a strong connection with our horse so that we can guide them through these experiences so that they have a positive long-term effect which builds their emotional resilience and their ability to cope, rather than compounding their negative experiences, which compounds the behaviors that we don't want, which makes them the dangerous horse, which makes it hard for you to do anything with them, to handle them, those kinds of things. So we work on this connection through liberty and then reinforcing boundaries for our horse as well, because it is important to have clear established boundaries with our horses without having to escalate their behavior though. So how do you tell your horse no without them getting stroppy at you? That's always a big one to work on. And building our horse's confidence so that they learn instead of being in that reactive mode. And this is really key if you wanting to do anything serious with your horse, is that you want them to actually understand the cue so that you can make the cues more complex and combine them into harder and harder sequences that are required of your higher levels of training. When you're just teaching them to try and react to the cue without actually properly understanding it, you'll get stuck. You plateau in your training. I've been there 100 times before, and it's because they haven't properly understood the cue and they're just trying to people please. They're just trying to keep us happy. So we're just going to have a quick look. This is one of my first training sessions with a little warm blood that I was playing with, and she basically started the training session with threatening to rear, and she's just a bit, you'd call her sassy. She's a mare. She doesn't want to be told what to do. She doesn't like, basically being asked to do anything, but she's confident within her environment and then insecure when her environment changes. she's young. So we've got a few complexing, compounding, issues there that when you go to do basically anything with her, you've got stubbornness, she's fighting, she's ready to escalate to rearing, and then she also switches into flight mode really quickly, and she will start just spooking at things and being really sensitive. But overall, she's just you'd call her stubborn, but she just doesn't really like being told what to do. So we're going to have a quick look. This is the end of the training session after we've been through our training trainability principles. This whole training session is actually in our membership, and it's about, setting clear boundaries with our horses to build a level of connection and consent. And then this is, a little bit of a challenge. Can you maintain that at liberty? So this is our first training session together, maintaining that connection at liberty, just to see where she's at and how we go. I did this whole process without treats also. So we are quite happy to go either way with treat training. There are some horses I will use it for. They tend to be on the extreme end of fear, where they're terrified of people trying to climb away from them through the fences, or the extreme end of aggression, are really good for, building a more positive relationship. But I'm also quite happy to do a lot of this process without treats, because then we're actually building the relationship with us. We can use food to kind of broach that subject, to broach that topic, to start building, that positive association with us. But we can also just be people that our horses want to be around. And we don't necessarily have to bribe them if we do what they want at their pace, and we can still achieve the goals that we're looking for, maybe a little bit slower, but in my experience, every time it's been significantly better, because the horse is actually on our team ready to play the game. So I'm not going to ramble on any further. So this is Esme. And of course, now my computer is going to freeze. There we go, it's caught up. So you're seeing a little bit of our consent and our fist bumping, and just, challenging that connection. Is she going to stay with me? Is she going to stay consenting of my ask? Just having, all we're doing is we're having a conversation with the horse. And we're saying, walk when I walk, stop when I stop, back when I back. And this is the start of the conversation. We do it in a comfortable environment for the horse, where they feel safe and securely attached. And then we can start. So this is the relationship and the connection that we've built within the first training session, where she can fill her emotional cup if she's unsure or if she's feeling a bit stressed, so that we can tackle those big emotions that our horses feel when they feel pressured into doing something, before they escalate into big behaviors. So that was a no from her there, where she's stomped at the ground a little there. And then she's changed her mind and is ready to say yes. But at any stage, she can leave my side here. And I've not convinced her to be by my side with food, just through how we structure our training session, how we create positive associations with us, and just her learning how to enjoy my company. So already, we can see a small no before we even put any pressure on within the ask. She knows that I want her to step back. And so she's saying no here. and doing her own emotional self-regulation here so that she is changing her no into a yes. And that is, a big skill for our horses to learn, is the resistance that we get to an aid. It's not oh, I have a naughty horse, my horse is being bad, it's being resistant. It's like emotional resistance to being told to do something that you don't necessarily want to do. And for some of us, our horses want to actually lead. And so it's saying, well, no, I'm leading and you're following. And so it's their emotional resistance to having to be the follower instead of the leader. And we have to be the ones that help them through it and support them through that, because they're horses and we're the people that want to sit on their back and ask them to do the things that they don't necessarily want to be doing. So, you want to think about that situation where your boss has told you to do something, or your partner has told you to do something, and you get your back up. You're like, oh, they're always on my case about it. That is the emotional resistance that our horses feel when we ask them to do things. So it's our job to actually make them feel good about saying yes. And that's what willingness is. It's not force. We're not asking them to submit to us or yield to us. We're making the yes feel good for them. So first we need to rule out any reasons for no, whether it be pain or issues with gear or what we're doing with them. And then we need to make saying yes feel good, which means we need to make it fun, and we need to give them task achievement, and we need them to feel proud of themselves for that task achievement so that they want to say yes more and more and more. And that's what we like to teach, because we like to work with horses that want to work with us. It makes it a lot more enjoyable, firstly, if they're not trying to hurt us and get us off every time we try to ride. But secondly, it actually feels really nice when you have a horse that enjoys being ridden and you can just harmonize and connect and move in one. It's absolute magic, and it's why we do it. It's why we ride, because it just feels like magic. And so if that's what you're looking for, that's what we're offering. And if you want to know more and you want to work with us to find that place with you and your horse, and you're like, yes, this is really what I feel is missing, then just reach out, let us know, and we're happy to talk and see what's happening with you and your horse and what your next best steps are and how you can achieve that, because it's not impossible. We've been there, we've been through it, we've done it time and time again. It is a journey, but if it's what you want, then we can help you make it happen. So thanks for watching. If you do want that extra support, feel free to send us an email, or we encourage you to learn more about the program by clicking the button below. Thanks for watching. Bye.